there's a lot of positives about South Africa, but there's also some negatives where I look at, the corruption and how things have happened here. You've got black economic empowerment after 30 years of democracy. You've got like 7% of the population that still, after 30 years can't apply for certain jobs because they're white, or they can't play in certain sports teams because they're white. You've got youngsters, and that's why you've got a massive exodus of skills. All those universities, Stellenbosch, Rand Afrikaans University, all of the universities in this country that were built, kind of, yeah, just going southward south with regards to a lot of the stuff that's happening there in those universities.
They almost
Um,
overcorrected, right? Like it started off as a
yeah,
very, peaceful, transition with Nelson Mandela. And then over time, you had some folks in that party that were using racial grievances, right? Saying, hey,
yeah,
well, we had apartheid for so long that, all
yeah,
the poverty and suffering around, is because
yeah,
of the consequences of apartheid. So we need to do more to redistribute
yeah,
power and wealth from the whites
yes,
to the
yes,
blacks. And in that process, it was really just a mechanism of control and taking power, right?
yeah,
That's kind of that Marxist narrative, right?
yeah, yeah. And there was a need for some transformation,
Yeah.
and I'm not discounting that or saying that was wrong, but because transformation was necessary, and there were some wrongs of the past that needed to be corrected. Okay, but you can't just start going, completely in the opposite direction. You know what I'm saying? And because the result of that has been us losing many, many skills. That's the point I wanted to make in this country
Mm-hmm.
to overseas. Many doctors and engineers and you name it. You look at Australia and New Zealand, the US, the UK. I mean, if you go and look at a rugby game that gets played in the UK, you've got a massive amount of South African supporters there because there's a massive community that has moved there, because of their lack of faith in the country and the government and what's happening in this country. My own son, has had to move because just from a job perspective and his future, you know, as a white youngster, he's limited with regards to where he can go and how fast he can get there.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, those challenges are there. We're 30 years down the line here now. We got we 7% of the population. They still say, they want land, 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 but what are they going to do with the land? The farmers here farm the land. And as you
Yeah.
know, farming is a science. It's an art. It's a fashion. You don't just get land and start farming. You got to understand what you're going to farm, how you're going to farm it. You know,
Yeah.
um, and a lot of those farms, provide food and to other parts of the world and to this country. And if you have this massive land distribution um, takeover, what are those guys going to do with the land? And where it's happened here and there, it's just gone south because the guys don't know how to farm. You
Yeah.
can't just give somebody land. You got to farm the land. What are you going to do with the land or buy the land? And then there's a lot of farmers. There's probably more black-owned farms in South Africa now than white-owned farms, to be honest. But the
Yeah.
white-owned farms are still producing more of the food and the because they farm properly. They farm mechanically and with scientific intent. And how things are done. Um,
Yeah.
so so yeah, I'm just reflecting on what I say because Lee, I understand. It's a very sensitive topic. It's it can really escalate. You might have another guy that's grown up in a different society here in South Africa that would disagree very much with me, or maybe would challenge me on some of the things I said, and that's fine. But I'm just talking from my heart and what I've experienced.
Sometimes.